of all the partnerships that we've had at Cooper's Hawk, this one with Raymond has got me really excited. In particular, because of the way that they farm. And we're out here at Raymond today to walk through the vineyards and talk a little bit about what biodynamic farming means. They've been certified biodynamic for a number of years, and this is a style of farming that's similar to organic farming, but it kind of takes it to another extreme, and it's really all about this love of the land and treating the land as this entire organism as opposed to just vines. It's very much alive, and I'm going to show you a few of the things that go into biodynamic farming and what makes this so special and what ultimately makes those wines so delicious. Biodynamic farming is kind of like organic farming in that there's no chemical pesticides, herbicides, or fertilizers. So at Raymond, they are counting on nature to take care of those things for them. Obviously, compost is a really key thing, but as far as pests go, instead of using pesticides, they're actually counting on nature, like I said. So over here, we've got owl boxes and bird boxes, and those guys go after all the bad bugs. So this is not just a pretty flower garden in the middle of the vineyard. What you see here is what's called an insect alley. So these are all plants that have been put here specifically because those flowers actually attract beneficial insects. So it's bringing in all kinds of beetles and bees and butterflies, the things that help fight the bad bugs. And then come over here, I'll show you something in the vineyard. So what's in between the rows here is not actually weeds. That's called a cover crop. And what we do with organic and biodynamic farming is look for things that can be planted that are good for the plants. For example, things like legumes are planted because they actually add nitrogen to the soil. So the sheep aren't in the pen right now, they're actually out busy working, but sheep and goats are both really important in the vineyard, and these chickens too. Obviously they provide some really great fertilizer for the vines, but more importantly when it comes to the sheep is they're really great lawnmowers. They go in between the vines and eat all of the grasses down really short so that the vines aren't having to compete for water with grass. Of course, once the leaves start going, then the sheep have to be taken out of the vineyard because they'll eat that. And these goats, man, they'll eat everything. So you have to be really careful about how you use a goat for clearing the land. This is the Biodynamic Calendar, and people who farm biodynamically follow this calendar. It's sort of like a farmer's almanac, but what it does is it really is about tracking the moon. And hang with me here, imagine how the moon affects the tides and it brings the tides in and out. When it comes to biodynamic farming, the principles of this are that at the same time the moon is also bringing energy in and out of the land or out of the plants. And what that means is that on certain times of the month, the plants are giving out energy and other times they're taking in energy. So obviously when they're giving out energy is when you're going to want to do things like harvest. And when they're taking in energy is when you want to do things like fertilize. The final key thing about biodynamic farming are these horns, believe it or not. One of the things that they do is they'll actually take these horns and pack them with cow manure, and in the fall they'll bury them in a corner of the vineyard. And then they wait until the spring and they dig them back up. And what's happened is that cow manure is incredibly organism rich. It's sort of broken down inside of these horns, and then they dump it out, and then they make a preparation where they add a lot of water to it and sometimes other kinds of minerals or herbs. And then they spray it on the vineyard. And what that does is it brings a lot of life into the soil. Again, all these organisms and bugs which keep the soil really healthy, which ultimately make the wine really healthy. So when there's this much love going into the land, what ultimately happens is that you end up with some pretty spectacular wine. So you can see why we're so excited to be partnering with Raymond this year.